What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are going to talk about some very significant catalysts for the crypto bull market, for alt season, for all the good things that we want to see coming in the coming days, weeks, months for crypto. We're going to go over that stuff in this video, so if that sounds good to you, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. The charts that we will be using today are the DXY and the Bitcoin dominance. For those of you who are not aware of what the DXY is, I'll give a brief explanation. It's a measurement of the dollar as far as strength goes, right, versus other currencies, very significant currencies in the world. So you can think of it as when it's going up, the US dollar is gaining strength. Whenever it's going down, the dollar is losing strength. Whenever you are investing in assets, when you're investing in real estate, when you're investing in cryptocurrency, whatever it is, if the dollar is losing weakness, that means your assets are gaining strength versus it. Most of the time, it's not always that exactly correlated, but generally speaking, you see risk on assets, stock market, cryptocurrency markets, whatever, you see them perform their best when the DXY performs its worst, generally. Okay, not always. They can move down together, they can move up together at times. But what's a little bit interesting about the DXY here is, to me, if we look at the daily time frame, it did seem as though we were overbought for quite a while, right? Nice run up here, and we had some bearish divergence to finish it off with. You even had this head and shoulders pattern up here. It looked like you were breaking out of it. And you had a false break. You came back up and reversed. So what this tells me, is that likely we're going to see this move progress. We're going to see the DXY moving up. So that's not that encouraging, right? That's not what we want to see necessarily, but I think that there's good tidings that come with this move up, and we're going to get into that. Okay, so essentially you look at the DXY on the daily time frame, on the RSI, you do have lower lows here and some lower highs. You might be in the beginning of some kind of long drawn out downtrend in the RSI. Generally, when you have lower lows like this in the RSI and you have higher lows in the price, that's actually a good thing. I guess not a good thing, but it's a good thing for the DXY to grow. It's called hidden bullish divergence. But with this kind of new, it almost looks like the beginning of a trend. I don't know how high I would expect this to go. Maybe it does get overbought. Maybe it rejects there. That would be nice. I think that actually be a very nice signal. Generally, whenever you do see trends kind of reverse, you will, instead of getting into the overbought zone, you'll see a rejection of that. Wouldn't that come in nice kind of conjecture with these previous highs that we've just recently have? So what I'm saying by that is essentially that on a daily time frame, I would expect potentially the next week, maybe even the next week and a half, we return back to these areas. I do not expect that we exceed them. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I believe once we get up here, there will be even more bearish divergence forming. We'll get the rejection off the overbought zone, which would be good. We're looking for that, okay? Essentially, what I'm trying to tell you here is when this moves up, we don't want to see it getting to like 111 and above. We don't want to see progression. If we do, it has to come in the form of a wick and then an immediate rejection down, right? Something like that. We don't want to get too far away from this high. What we'd like to see is a slightly higher high on a closing basis. And then on a weekly basis, if you look at it here, what that would promote would be double bearish divergence, essentially, right? We would have a very powerful signal there. Or I guess it wouldn't be double bearish. I'm sorry. You had a double top here. Technically, this one is a higher high, so it wouldn't actually be bearish divergence. But if we move up here and we reject off the overbought zone, we would have a lower high in the weekly price, and potentially if we can close somewhere up around this area or just above it, somewhere in this zone, form somewhat of a double top look, that would form bearish divergence, and that could be a catalyst, a very big catalyst for us to move down, have a very massive correction in the DXY. You know, whenever it moves up at a pretty fast pace. When it moves down, it does the same thing. It only knows one pace, really, at least lately. And I would expect that we do return back to the bottom of this range, and that's huge, you guys. That's huge. For those of you who are unaware, right, again, Whenever the DXY is correcting, that tends to be very bullish for crypto. And if we compare that actually to Bitcoin here, BTC specifically, we could do total, but I'm just going to do Bitcoin, right? Because what's bullish for Bitcoin tends to be bullish for crypto. Not always, but generally. Right, so here you are in your bear market, right? This is Bitcoin, the red line here. If you can see it, it is overlapping. Maybe I can fix that actually. Let's make it look a little bit nicer. Let's do that. Hold on. Hold up now. Okay. Yes. Bring that out. Bring this out here. So you can see, oh, no, that's not what I meant to do. You can see for Bitcoin, we started our bear market here. The DXY was in a nice uptrend Bitcoin was in a nice downtrend. It found, or at least it was around, its bear cycle lows whenever the DXY started to top off. Whenever it really got going, that's when we actually were at the lows and we started to round out our bottom there, right? There's moments where we grow together. There's moments where we decay together. But generally speaking, whenever you move down, it is a beneficial thing for Bitcoin. And it's not totally reflected in this, but I would say moving down and halting your downtrend, your bear market literally coming up like this, that is a positive thing. That's a positive thing that you can observe right here in the charts. And then, of course, started moving up. This started moving up as well. But all I'm trying to say, the real point that I'm trying to get to is this whole last phase that we've had since basically August, September of 2024, Bitcoin has been moving up, but the DXY has also been moving up. Okay, my theory here is that while Bitcoin is showing strength, while crypto is as a whole showing strength and growing, maybe not on average, but Bitcoin, at least, and some of the bigger cryptos have started doing well since October, right? Since September of 2024, we had that nice growth going into November, December, and then some coins, some cryptos recently have also pumped over the past couple months, or over the past couple weeks even. But I digress. What I'm trying to say is that while Bitcoin's been moving up, the DXY has also been moving up. So what's going to happen when the DXY finally tops off and it starts to drop? What happens if we do get this double top that I'm talking about, that I brought up in the beginning of the video? Bitcoin's been moving up while the DXY's been moving up. Okay, but the DXY, I don't believe, will be in this kind of trajectory forever. I think now that I've gotten Bitcoin on there, I'm going to delete that there. Okay. If we look at prior cycles for the DXY, similar to how Bitcoin has cycles, the DXY has cycles too. Okay, you can see you had a very sharp downtrend here, and at the bottom of it, that's whenever you had your first expansive phase in a very long time. You had an expansion phase here, and then you went in a consolidation phase. So expansion to consolidation. Then another expansion phase. I think it's very obvious. This is what I'm going to call an expansion phase, not this, right? It's not the same. It's very distinctive moves, right? This is a lot more pronounced. That's just kind of the last little wimpy move up that you had before you started moving down. Okay, so what I'm saying here is you've had an expansion phase. In case it's not clear, that was it at the low. Very big move up, very similar to this kind of thing. Moved up and then consolidated for quite a long time. And then here, you consolidated as well. We're just going to draw a line for the moves up and draw a circle, a bubble for the consolidation phases. Expansion phase here, and now we've consolidated this much in this consolidation phase. So what I want to address first and foremost is obviously this consolidation phase. If it were to come to an end, and if the DXY were to go into some kind of expansive phase right now, this would be the shortest consolidation phase we've seen in the DXY since 2008, right? Or I guess technically since 2014, whatever, the beginning, the end. I don't know what end to make of that, but in a while, in over a decade, it'd be the shortest amount of consolidation we've seen. And that can happen, you know, it definitely could happen. Or as we've seen in our prior consolidation phases where we did have more growth, even in the consolidation phases, we went through periods of growth, but overall it's obviously a consolidation phase. This is obviously an expansion phase. I would argue that in here we had a pretty big move up as well. Here we had a pretty big move up. I think this is just one of those. It's just one of those moves up that we have, unfortunately, while the Bitcoin bull market's going on. But on the bright side, we do know, or at least we could assume to know, that this will not persist. It will not evolve into anything that's more dramatic than this. So likely, we're probably going to find resistance at some point and come back down, right? We're going to be in our consolidation phase for a while, right? We've got more time to go. It's not going to break out now. That's all I'm trying to get to. If you take a relative high, if I can get to it, I might have to close in on this a little bit. If you take a relative high here from that relative low there, you're actually rejecting off the golden ratio zone, the 61869. That's the golden pocket right there. We've got two white lines for a reason there. Okay, it's very common when rejecting the golden ratio to find support on the 0.5 or on the 382. And generally speaking, what you get whenever you bounce off of these levels or somewhere in between these levels is a move up that would take you to your 786 or your 886. I'm not anticipating that, but it could happen. It could happen, and this could still not be an expansion phase because, again, we've had moments like this where we've grown, and even though it did see higher relative highs, that was not the expansion phase. I don't think we're going to see higher relative highs. You know, we started from a much higher price here. We weren't starting from the lows like we are here, but you know, here too, You also had a pretty pronounced move up, a pretty persistent move up, but it wasn't the same as your expansion phase. It's pretty similar, but not the same, right? I would assume at the worst, this would imply then that the DXY might continue to move up until maybe Q2 of this year, which would be rather unfortunate, I think, because that would basically postpone the glory of the bull market if that was to happen. So what we're looking for essentially is not progression, right? We don't want to see progression. We don't want to see you get to the 786. If you do, it better be like a quick move and a quick move down. It better be quick rejections. But what we want to see is while you're in this kind of expected move where you go from your 61869 to your 0.5, and then you would expect to go here. If that's the expected endeavor, we want to see something that would be unexpected to that. We want a double top. We want a rejection in this golden ratio zone or off of it. It doesn't even have to go that high. If we just reject the golden ratio right there and then persist back down, if we get lower than this low, that would certify, that would validate that this is the high, okay? And while it was nice, while we had a little bit of a pullback here, and that might have caused some cryptos to pump over the past couple of weeks, it wasn't enough to really trigger a whole bullish effect in the altcoin markets, right? So what we're looking for here, for this catalyst, this very huge catalyst that I was talking about at the beginning of the video, is we're looking for the DXY to have a double top of sorts, finding resistance in this zone, not growing too much more from here, right? We don't want to see that, because all that means, the reason why we don't want to see it is not because it's going to ruin the bull market. It's not, I mean, it's going to, it would affect the bull market negatively, I would think, but I don't think it would ruin it. It just postpones things. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of waiting, right? I want this stuff to go up now, but that doesn't matter. Whatever you want, whatever you think, that doesn't matter. Whatever I want, whatever I think, that's, the charts don't care. So because we're the ones that care, what we want to see is some form of a double top, and that could happen, you know, by the end of this week, like the first week of February. It could happen by the end of the second week of February. The sooner the better. And if we do not progress from here, at least not too much from here, and then we get below this low, that would certify that we're likely going to see a very dramatic correction, probably all the way back down to the end of this range. You could expect a higher low, perhaps, maybe a lower low, but I wouldn't expect anything shy of something in this zone here. And that kind of correction could really send things off, man, for months. It could be phenomenal. So we're looking for that. The weekly RSI does look a little bit exhausted, though it looks like it wants to try another run up here, probably next week. The daily RSI showing a shift in trend now, but it does look postured to go to the upside at the rate of growth that I think we could expect to see based off of its other kind of movements up in this range. You know, maybe by the second week of February, right? Because next Friday would be the 7th. So this would be Wednesday, maybe it's next Friday. Who knows? It's hard to say, but within the first 2 weeks of February, I would expect that we do get a high here on the overbought zone, and we're going to watch this. We're going to watch this like a hawk, you guys, because if that doesn't happen, if we don't move all the way up here and all we do is something like this and then turn around and we're getting lower lows, we're going to have reasons to celebrate earlier than we thought. I'm going to be paying attention to this, and I promise you I'll bring it up whenever it is more relevant, but I'm probably not going to talk about it for about another week or until we get up to this zone, and then we'll revisit this whole kind of situation here, because what I'm essentially anticipating again is I think we are starting a new trend in the daily RSI. I think this kind of trend can last for a while, right? Like it could last, that's all the way in June. It could last for a long time. It doesn't have to end. It could last shorter than that, but I'm just saying this could be the beginning of foreshadowing of good things to come for crypto, for assets, risk on assets, bad things to come for the DXY, which is good for us, right? We want to see that. And then on the weekly RSI, that might agree as well, because we do have lower lows here. If we start a lower high trend here, that could also start a downtrend in the weekly RSI. And then we'd have bearish divergence to top off in the golden zone over here. It would look perfect, okay? Just because it would look perfect, just because that would be an ideal scenario, does not mean it has to happen. But throughout this whole range, this whole consolidation phase, if we had one move, just one, that was to be similar to this one right here, to me it would be this right here, okay? And whenever we topped off, we essentially topped off similar to what I might expect that we do here, right? Where we kind of, it looks like a jumble, but if you look at it on the daily time frame, go all the way back, you can see that you did have, is that the right one? Was it over? Yeah, it's over here. You did have a double top. It was a lower high, but that was a double top of sorts, right? Right there, undeniably, that is a double top. It didn't look so much like it on the weekly, but it's very clearly a double top here. And then you had the reaction of a double top. You had another double top here, and then you went down. This could be, and I think it will be, some form of a double top. Now, will it be precisely at the same level? Will it be a lower low or lower high? Will it be a higher high? I don't know, but I'm assuming we will find resistance. I'm hoping we find resistance here. And again, that would trigger a massive dump in this kind of thing. That also would trigger a massive pump in crypto as well. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. I do want to look at the DXY on the ribbon real quick, and then we'll focus more on the Bitcoin dominance. Okay, on a daily time frame here, it was looking really good, man. We were getting below, we were getting into the ribbon. I was expecting a cross, a lot of good things, but then what we did was we found support just below the ribbon. That should be a signal that we are going to turn things around. If you wanted that signal to be false and go down, you would have had to reject the golden line here, but you didn't. You got above it. You closed above it on the last day of the week, the last day of the month for January. I think that is a bullish premonition. So what you'd want to see, again, in this kind of situation, because what we're doing now would suggest more growth. It would suggest a higher high. So to invalidate that, you need to essentially, after this move, if it takes you to this high, if it takes you to a higher high, if it takes you to a slightly lower high, wherever it takes you, wherever it ends up being, whenever you correct from there, what you want to do is you want to touch this ribbon again. Because if you get back into it like this, okay, you're not bouncing off of it like this necessarily, or like this. I guess I should say not just touch, but more living into it. When you dive into it, we want to see that. If we can see something like that, we move up, we top off at the area that I'm expecting that we will top off at, and then we pull back into the ribbon. That, to me, would signal that we are going to expect a daily trend change in the ribbon, which would be pretty significant. That would lead to some bearish things, right? Here, kind of a similar thing, right? Got up, got down, got up, got down. Finally, you broke out above it. Once you had your move up, you pulled back into the ribbon, and then that caused a flip of the ribbon. That triggered a massive move down for the DXY as well, right? A continued sustained move down that lasted from June of 2024 until September of 2024. Okay, and then same thing with the upside. You touched it, you rejected it, cool. But then once you started living in it, right, you got the flip, you got this cross. Anyways, I hope that makes sense. I hope that's something we can look forward to on a weekly basis. The ribbon looks pretty damn bullish, not gonna lie, but there's reasons to go lower, I suppose. On a monthly basis, of course, the monthly ribbon is going to be bullish because we are in an overall multi-decade uptrend. So of course it's going to be bullish. But I don't assume that just because the monthly ribbon's bullish, that doesn't mean that we can't go down over the weeks, over the days, over the months to come. And maybe not the days and weeks, but after like a week or two, I would assume that we do start moving down again, right? But I'll be watching this like a hawk. I'll keep you guys informed. Let's look at the Bitcoin dominance and then end this thing, okay? BTC.D, Bitcoin dominance in a little bit of an uptrend as well, okay? Looking at it here, looking at the RSI. The RSI looks pretty poised. It looks good to go to the upside. So I would assume dominance continues to grow. Now, dominance can grow for Bitcoin in two separate ways, right? Oftentimes when the dominance grows, it's because the crypto markets are selling off, but Bitcoin is selling off less. Sometimes what happens is the dominance grows steadily because Bitcoin's just outpacing the markets, and the markets are having a hard time catching up. So whatever this means, whether we're going to dump as a market, whether we're going to move up gradually but slowly, and Bitcoin's going to be the shining star, whatever it means, I think that we would ideally see some kind of double top situation here as well, okay? The daily RSI definitely poised to go back to the upside. What we don't want to see is stronger readings than anything we saw back here, because if we see something like that, that could indicate that we have a longer amount of time for the Bitcoin dominance to grow than what we want to ideally happen, in my opinion, right? We want this dominance to drop soon, just like we want the DXY to drop, because when both of those drop together, that really sets things up for a very bullish kind of situation. And we'll go over that as well, okay, by the end of this video. Looking at the monthly RSI, or not the monthly RSI, the monthly time frame. Whenever we go to 2016 July, no, we should look at the weekly time frame for that, actually. We go to 2016, July 9th was the second Bitcoin halving that we had, July 9th. So it would have been this week, okay. The dominance wasn't going up at this time. There are even moments where it moved down, but I'd say the dominance started to drop roughly right here at this week, 35 weeks in. So 35 weeks from the halving, that's when the dominance started to drop. Let me get this real quick. Hold on. Got to get this thing. Come on now. Here we go. All right. Camera's about to die. I say camera, it's my phone, whatever. But 35 weeks there. We go to 2020, which was the next halving. 2020, May 11th. That would have been here, this week right there, right? And then we go to when the dominance dropped again, whenever it started to tank. We topped off quite literally right here. I think that's a very obvious point of when the dominance started to tank. Of course, it picked up its pace 46 weeks in, and I think that might be worth mentioning. But 35 or 33, I think that's very discernible as a high, as the moment that you started to drop in dominance. 35 weeks, 33 weeks, pretty close together. It makes sense to me after the halving. But again, 46 weeks, that's when things really kicked off. I'm curious, actually, now that we went over that, when did this thing like really, because it started to move down, but it really probably kicked off here. That was 43 weeks. Pretty close as well. Interesting, okay. See, that's something I haven't considered before, was because obviously your downtrend started there, but you really started to move down 46 weeks, and the same thing before, it was about 43 weeks. I like seeing that congruence. Our most recent halving was April 20th, 2024, and right now our top was at 31 weeks. 31 weeks. 35 weeks the first time, or 30, or maybe it's 34, 35, whatever. 33 weeks, 31 weeks, it's pretty similar. And here we are right now on our 41st week. Right? That doesn't mean that it has to be 46 weeks that the dominance starts to drop. I mean, if it is, that'd put us in March, which would be a very lackluster February. I'm not expecting that personally. It could be by the end of this week, or by the end of next week, or the week after. I would expect sometime in the first or second week of February. If we're including this week, I'd say maybe then the second or the third week. If this is the first week, we only have 2 days left for crypto, I would say the second or the third week then. Whatever, let me see if I can refine that better. The week of the 10th, so that would be the 17th, I think, would be, or the 16th would be the last day of that week. So within the first half of February, I would expect that we begin to see the dominance tank. It begins to drop at a faster rate than it has so far, and I think that will really kick off alt season as well, right? Now we're going to compare, and the reason why I think we're going to go down to just beyond all of that, I think it's obvious the weekly downtrend here. You've got nice lower lows, some lower highs as well. You're just fighting it, right? You're at that point, that point where you're about to switch gears and move down, but oftentimes you can see these downtrends form over a long period of time, and that just, all it means is, things are getting strong, but then you're slowing down, and eventually you roll over, right? Oftentimes you don't see moves that just like go up and then go straight down and then go straight up and then straight down. That's not how things work. They tend to roll over a period of time, but volatility happens as well. Okay, but I digress. I'm just saying the weekly RSI to me is rather suggestive that something to the downside is coming. Okay, while it is beneficial to have lower lows in the RSI and then have higher lows as well, when you start to get these lower highs with higher highs, that's not a good thing, and that does suggest again a trend change. I want to point this out while I'm on this topic. Actually, I want to point this out here. You can see here you were in a very clear downtrend here. Okay, you broke out of that trend, but you still found lower lows, whatever, but you broke out of it here. You started to turn the beat around right here. You started to form an uptrend. If we look at the price was not in an uptrend there. No, this was a foreshadowing of the uptrend to come. But you just stopped moving down. So same thing here. We just stopped moving up, but we're going to start moving down soon. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I hope that connects some dots for anybody out there. Now we're going to compare Bitcoin dominance to the DXY, and we'll wrap this long ass video up, man. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you haven't. I hope you're learning some stuff from this. I feel like I haven't been the most well-spoken. My thoughts, the way that I'm articulating it, I feel like is proper. It's well-placed, but my words, man, I'm just like stumbling on my words, especially in the beginning, but we're rolling with it now. Let's see here. I blame it on sleep deprivation, man. My daughter kept me up. Dude, I don't know what her problem was last night, but whatever. We're here now, man. Let's see. Literally, guys, for like 4 hours, I'm not even going to get into it, but she's okay. Everything's fine, but it was annoying to say the least. But that's part of it, right? That's just part of it. You got to deal with it. Anyways, Bitcoin dominance. What we want to do also, I think, would be to compare. Let's compare total. Okay, that way we get everything. Yeah, we'll just do that. Okay, hold on. So we want to put you in log. We're going to put total in log as well. So I hope it's obvious what's what. I know it's a bit of a mess on the charts. Maybe I can try and clean this up a little bit. Okay, the candles, and you know what? Let's change it from candles. Let's actually make it a line. Let's do that. Let's do that. That might, instead of making them all, there we go. I feel like that might be easier to see, okay? So Bitcoin itself, or not Bitcoin, but the total crypto market cap is the purple line, okay? The DXY is the red, okay? And then the dominance for Bitcoin is the blue. We've got a lot going on here, but we're gonna make sense out of it, I promise you, okay? It's not, it might look like a headache now. I'm gonna clean it up for you, I promise, okay? I'm gonna clean it up right now. So I hope that is a little bit less of a headache to look at, but I'm going to explain it all in a second, okay? We'll make it very comprehensive. All right. This part is going to get some overlap. I think this is going to get some overlap, but I don't think that matters because we're probably not going to focus on this too much, okay? So Bitcoin dominance here, DXY here, okay? Maybe we should put this one up. Let's do that. Let's put the DXY and Bitcoin dominance together. This is the total crypto market cap chart, right? I hope that makes sense. The purple is the total. Whenever dominance is dropping, Bitcoin dominance is dropping, and the DXY is dropping, what part of the crypto bull cycle was that? That was, it started here, that was the finale phase. That was the finale phase. And whenever the dominance and the DXY were dropping, the total crypto market cap, that's what the purple line is, from March 2017 until December or January 2018. I mean, man, what is that? That's 9 months of growth, parabolic growth to the upside, right? Here, you can see that the dominance did start to move down, but we really didn't get that drop until here. Okay, the DXY was moving down too this whole time, but it was at its lows here. Okay, moving down together somewhat, but really the dominance started to drop here, and the DXY wasn't growing. It was just kind of slow at this point here, okay? That's whenever Bitcoin, or the total market cap, really started to pick up. It was moving up here. Sure, it started to move up here, but it really picked up its pace once the dominance was dropping as well. Okay, so the dominance started to drop here. Oop, that was not the straightest line, but I tried to. I think that actually from that point to the bottom point, no, it should have been like more over here actually. It should have been like actually more over here. Because if I line up the crosshair or the dash line with it, I'm all the way up here. So that was that last phase of the bull cycle last time too, is when the dominance was dropping. And to be fair, the DXY wasn't dropping completely, but it was at a weak point and it wasn't gaining value. So when you had that happening, at least it wasn't growing against it. You had them both kind of in a negative aspect together. And even the dominance itself here, it wasn't dropping dramatically like it did here, while it was moving down and the DXY was moving down. That allowed the crypto total market cap to move up. Okay, here we are in this cycle. The DXY has not begun to move down. The dominance has not begun to move down. And we have not yet, at least to me it doesn't seem like, we have not yet had that pickup that we see every single cycle in the pace of the crypto markets. So all we're waiting on is the DXY to drop, the Bitcoin dominance to drop. That happening in tandem will likely set off a chain reaction of events that sets the whole crypto market to pump for, at the very least, several months, right? Last time, I mean, if we get it from that actual high, oops, that was a little bit beforehand. Let me see if I can get that right there. I mean, that was 126 days. That was 126 days to the first peak. Arguably, the total crypto market kept growing, you know, for 308 days. It's almost a year, which is pretty similar to what we saw back here, almost a year. So whether it's a few months, whether it's just under a year, three quarters of a year, whatever, likely the good times are about to start rolling. It just all depends on all the stuff that we talked about in the beginning of this video with these setups. And I'm going to keep you informed. I'm going to keep looking at the charts. Again, things look rather bullish right now for the DXY, but all it takes is a lack of continuation, a lack of growth from here. All it takes is some kind of double top. If we can find that resistance, come back down to this exact same area, perfect. And if we don't even do that, if we just start moving down, even better. But with the I don't know, man, with the Fed not dropping rates, that might lead to the dollar growing as well. There's some other things that I'm forgetting about right now. I don't know. Would the tariffs also make the dollar grow? Maybe. That might promote strength in the dollar. Would it weaken other currencies? I don't know if that would happen. I don't know if that has a direct effect, but I'd be curious. Anyways, I think I'm going to end the video there on curiosity. Hit the like button if you want to see more content like this, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Hope you took something away from this video. Take it easy. Bye-bye.